Well, I love you very much, obviously.
I love you too.
Am I dead?
Just be here now.
To understand death, we must understand life. In the episode Annihilation of Joy, life is portrayed as an infinite loop of pain and suffering, at times a sensation of claustrophobia and terror. You can't escape the chains of life because that's all that ever exists. This time, the fear of death isn't because it takes life away from you, but rather it traps you in life, pointing to the idea of eternal recurrence. Annihilation of Joy follows a prisoner, stuck in this cycle of life and death. This prisoner serves as a reflection to Clancy. Clancy in a way appropriates Buddhist philosophy, as an excuse to disassociate from earthly matters. He disregards simple things like reading instructions, or bigger matters like checking up on his sister. Clancy, like the prisoner, is constantly trying to escape this prison of suffering we call life. Clancy preaches about being conscious of the present moment, yet in his chaotic endeavors, he pays no attention to the present moment. For Clancy, philosophy isn't a means of facing truth, but a way of escapism. That constant need to escape is the very thing that innates suffering. The overall message and philosophy on loss is that there is no escaping it. As long as you're human, you will suffer. To commit complete ego death is to commit suicide. Clancy tries to avoid his humanity. He identifies with a spiritual and higher self, a being of ultimate reality that just takes on one of many forms, viewing humanity and existence as an illusion, and how we're all fundamentally one being. Although this has some validity to it, this doesn't mean we're void of any responsibility. We're still here going through this human experience, and there's a beauty to that. We see the human experience at play in the final episode, seeing the development of an individual identity, and later, the discovery of connectivity, presenting the idea that life is a cycle of being lost just so that we can be found again. The point isn't to achieve some heaven or nirvana or final destination to life. Because of our human nature, that constant state of peace will eventually bring about boredom. It's hard staying in a constant state of focus. The true beauty is in entering and exiting that state of nirvana, of heaven. Opening our hearts to death is an excruciating process, but once we get through it, we have a much more deeper sense of freedom and appreciation for life. There is no avoiding that pain that comes with being conscious of your inevitable death, or of the death of someone you love. The only thing you can do, the only thing you should do, is cry. Expressing those emotions and also listening to the expressions of others. It's this very exchange of expressing and listening that highlights the essence of love. Vulnerability allows love to flow, but also allows pain to destroy. In order to deal with that pain, you must learn to forgive. Forgiveness is when your pain stops being a part of your identity. Once you detach from the hatred and anger you feel towards someone, or even the world, that hatred will fall. We see this in the episode Blinded by My End. This episode talks a lot about forgiveness, listening, and loneliness. Deep down, humans will never be able to fully convey exactly what they're internally experiencing to another. This creates a level of loneliness, and it's that exact feeling that no one knows what other people are 100% going through that connects us all. Even if people can 100% experience what you're experiencing, at the very least, what we can do is listen to each other. And it's that listening that holds the essence of love. We must listen to ourselves most importantly. Make room for ourselves in order to make room for others.
There's space for you, and there's space for them.
The heart and soul of Midnight Gospel is its very conversations. Life is a constant state of motion, of growing up and dying, and repeat. And it's in these conscious moments of listening and talking that capture this picture and essence of life. And that life, that love,
The love isn't going anywhere.
the more we turn away from this thing we call death, the more we'll suffer. Death is a process of stripping you of your individuality. That feeling is so intense that we create barriers to block that feeling. If the idea of eternal recurrence, a never-ending loop of your life, is true, the best thing we can do is make a life worth living over and over and over again. not to see ourselves above these worldly concerns, but rather an intricate part of it. To deal with these feelings of loss,
What do you do about that?
You cry. You cry.